In this video, I'm going to be doing a little cartoon style pet portrait, and I like to give these little portraits as gifts when someone I know adopts a new dog or cat or really any kind of animal. So I just kind of have my own little style of doodling animals. So the animal that I'm drawing right now is my dog Hazel, and I've actually had her for a little while, and I think I've done little doodles of her several times, but I have a framed portrait of my other dog Watson, so I wanted to make one of her as well. So what I do first is I kind of do all the sketching on a piece of computer printer paper so that when I transfer my drawing with carbon paper onto my watercolor paper, I can make sure that I have really nice clean lines and I don't have to erase a bunch of mistakes. So I can make all my mistakes over on that computer paper. And I always like to just put a simple little wreath around my portraits, and I usually just freehand the name as best I can. So I like to do these wreaths just to kind of frame the portrait, and it's a pretty simple portrait, but I feel like this gives it just a little bit more life. So I like to do a wreath with leaves, and then I put some little circles that I fill with color. And all of the ink that I'm using for this is from a Micron pen, and Micron pens are waterproof, so I can paint over this with watercolor and I don't have to worry about my ink smudging. Now, my dog Hazel is black and white, and I actually don't have black on my watercolor palette, so I'm gonna have to kind of improvise a black. And I decided just to add a little bit of texture to her with the pen, so just some little dashes to give her some texture, some fur, I guess. And then on the white part of her, I'll put just a few, but I'll spread them out. Okay, so to mix up a black, I'm using my ultramarine blue, and I know it's going really fast, so it's hard for you to see, but my ultramarine blue is on the, let's see, it's the right-hand side of my palette, and it's second from the bottom, and then I mix that with raw umber, which is on the left side, actually directly next to my ultramarine blue. So it's just right above the white. And if you mix those together, it's a little bit difficult to get the right balance, but it is a pretty good way to make a gray or a black. And so I'm just kind of filling her in, and I'm adding some darker spots, which I eventually decide that I don't really like those, so I just use a little bit more water to kind of soften out those really dark spots. And she has a lot of spots on her chest, and so I kind of put those in there, but you'll see later that I can kind of soften those up and make those a little bit less prominent. And now I'm just going around and painting the leaves, and I usually don't paint all the leaves the exact same color, so I kind of skip around and do like a lighter green and then a darker green, so it doesn't look too flat. And then I mixed a little bit of red with some of that white gouache just to soften it up and make it really pink. And so I used that in her ears, and then I'm going to put that around the wreath as well as some purple that I just mixed up. Okay, and now I just am going back with a wet brush, and I re-wetted her chest and belly area to get that paint a little bit softened up, and then I went and lifted it up a little bit with my paper towel, and that just kind of helped to soften those spots. And that's really it. It's pretty simple. This takes me about 45 minutes usually, just because I'm trying to be really careful, but I think it's really cute.